part of the calibration kit that I carry with me on the software side of things, I'm always traveling with the Rational Acoustics Smart and have for many, many years. Smart is really good with the real-time feedback. So any changes I make magnitude-wise, I can see it immediately. I'm not waiting on a sweep. It's very fast. I can average multiple microphones. So generally speaking, I have no fewer than 6 microphones out. Obviously, there's going to be one at the reference listening position. I'm going to have others distributed around. If it's a multiple row cinema, for example, we're going to want to see what's going on in all of those rows, because we have to be conscious that any changes that we're making in one row isn't making it worse in the other row. And just something to think about, if you're using Smart or REW, I would say I use REW quite a bit because it excels at giving me some other information, mostly time-related information. The waterfall plots, RT60 times, group delay, those things are a lot easier to manage and see in REW. And it's quite a capable program. But if I'm doing manual calibrations or we're trying to move quickly, maybe I have 2 days in a room, Smart with the ability to average multiple microphone positions and get that instantaneous phase and magnitude feedback, right? Music's 2 things. It's like, it's what note, well, maybe 3 things. What note, how loud, and at what time, right? So you got to be able to see all of those things in the analyzer and in the software. So if you have those 6 microphones out, it's averaging, I'm making adjustments, and I can know that I'm not, first move is to not do any harm, right? So I want to make sure if I'm making one row good, then I'm not making the other rows absolutely horrible. And to that point, if you're at home and you've got a multi-row theater, and you're getting this set up and you have the latitude to move the seats around, as you're determining where do these seats go, remember, they don't have to, in the initial, your initial decision isn't like, hey, I need to make all of them perfect. The initial decision should be, I need to make them all behave as similarly as possible before I apply the calibration. Because if row 1 and row 2 are similar, the moves I make are going to be more relevant to both of the, it's going to translate to both of those locations. So oftentimes a lot of us will go down the rabbit hole trying to make each row perfect, and make them similar. They need to be similar, because if they're similar, and maybe that is perfect in your room and you got lucky or did a good job, great. But start with making them similar, so that way what you apply downrange will be relevant to both of the locations, right? You're not sacrificing one for the other. And sometimes the rooms just don't support that. They're not big enough to support having 2 really good rows. But to get back to the question, Smart software is always with me, quite good. It's worth every penny. It's not an inexpensive proposition, but definitely a professional tool. Go to any concert, the guy's running Smart, I guarantee it. REW is really quite good as well. And honestly, the offerings from Andrew Smith over at Studio 6 Digital, really, really quite solid also, and not as expensive as getting, say, into a Smart system. He also has a really cool new signal generator called Surround Pod that's solving some really basic issues when we go in to do a calibration. If I'm working on a system that isn't, say, as sophisticated as a Trinnov or a Storm, where I can inject my own test signal into it very easily, pull up every loudspeaker and verify, very important word there, verify that what Trinnov is telling me it's doing, or Storm is telling me it's doing, that it's actually doing that. I can hear it, I can see it with my own measurement. If the processor isn't sophisticated enough to do that, the Surround Pros become a really nice option. The Surround Pod, excuse me, because this now allows me to inject into, say, a more budget conscious, more budget friendly, say, Marantz or Denon, into the HDMI input and talk to each one of those speakers independently. It seems like a very simple thing. You're like, why can't I do that already? Well, the more sophisticated processors allow an external signal to come in. The more budget conscious items do not, and I need to know what that thing is doing on its own. With REW, there's some very convoluted workarounds where you can try to get into the top channels, but generally speaking, you're limited to the ear level ring, so you can't get into the high top channels, and it becomes a lot more difficult. So that's kind of a cool, exciting new thing from Studio 6 Digital that I've been playing around with on a couple of jobs, and that's made it really simplified things. So I'd say, you know, REW, Smart, the Studio 6 Digital, they've got some nice software. Their package. Also, on occasion, we'll use a software called Accurate to generate FIR filters and do some other investigations. But I mean, the bread and butter, what comes out every time, Smart and REW, 100%.